Can we get snacks between these, and then we can have some snacks, and then we can walk next?
Yeah. Hello, welcome to Good for a Change, the final Good for a Change for 2019. This is a podcast where we aim to combat the awful everyday news you hear with stories that will make you smile. Like this. I smile, but this is a... Yeah, Hollie's smiling. It's a visual medium. You can't say
It's
I'm
not a
smiling.
visual medium.
It's not a visual medium. I think this show is probably the most visual podcast.
non-visual podcast ever.
That's fine. My name is Jarrod. With me is Hollie.
Hello.
You didn't say hello, Hollie. You always say hello, Hollie.
Oh,
You've ruined it.
we'll do it again.
No, we won't. That's it.
No, because Matt will be sad.
Matt will be sad.
Matt told me that's his favourite bit, or Alice. I can't remember.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep all of this in, and you're going to try it again.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Matt or Alice.
With me is Hollie.
Hello, Holly.
Oh, wow, that wasn't rehearsed at all. Also, with me is Sean.
Hello, Holly.
Well, this has all gone poorly. So I'm gonna start because I just don't want you two to be involved any longer. An article from 1900 has recently been discovered which contained predictions for the future.
Ooh.
Written by John Alfred Watkins Jr., incidentally my favourite name ever.
That is a great name.
Alfred. For the Ladies' Home Journal. Doesn't that just sound like a 1900s?
Yeah.
Like, you know exactly everything in that is like...
There's adverts for carpet cleaners in there. There's adverts for
how to make sure the roast is ready by the time your husband gets home.
taking Pepto-Bismol for, like, your toenails.
The article predicted what the world may look like by the year 2000, but they've only recently found it.
Ooh.
So, I thought I'll go through some of the things he correctly predicted.
Oh, here we go.
So, people connecting through cameras.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. FaceTime. That's basically, essentially the internet when you really think about it.
Yep.
Invisible rays of light that a physician could use to see the heart. So,
X-ray.
like ultrasound and X-rays,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, we're there. Cool.
Entertainment being telephoned into homes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically,
streaming, isn't it?
Yeah, streaming, internet, yeah.
Wireless telephones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Air conditioning.
Yeah.
And colour photography.
Wow.
Those are just some of the things. Unfortunately, he did get them things incorrect.
Oh.
Would you like have a guess? Have a guess something, Hollie, that he might have incorrectly predicted.
He predicted that we, as a race, had gills now. Human race has gills.
No.
Sean?
That horses would still be around in a transportation capacity, but the carriage would be a little different.
Yes and no.
Yes.
I haven't actually got that written down, but I do remember it reading the article. He did predict that horses would become more expensive than cars, I think it was. Something like that, which is incorrect, but
Well, you can't get everything right.
No, exactly
But,
right.
I feel like rich people have horses and everyone has a car.
That's true.
So-
Oh, you make a good point. One of the things I haven't got it written down here, but that he did incorrectly predict, was that the average human should be able to walk 10 miles, which is 16 kilometres. Otherwise, they are labelled as unfit.
Oh.
Oh, bless him.
How many kilometres do you think you can walk, Hollie, before you collapse in a heap and die?
How far is one lap of Chadstone?
Probably not as far as what he had predicted.
No. Also, you called it Chabston then.
Chadstone.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, here's some of the things that...
We're not sponsored, so they don't get a full name call out.
Yeah.
True. That, this is some of the things
Chadstone.
that John Alfred Watkins Jr. incorrectly predicted. Peas as large as beetroots.
Okay.
Why would you... Hang on, sorry. Why would that be one of your predictions?
Mate, that's not the only large food prediction he made.
What's excellent is that he went, right, okay, realistically, the things that are going to progress is technology because that's human controlled. But God might give it a go with the peas.
Well, he also predicted, I think it was strawberries as big as oranges.
Oh, wow.
So he had a thing for big food.
You'd lose a lot of flavour in that.
Yeah,
think?
Yeah.
because big strawberries, you always think a big strawberry is going to be really tasty, and
They've
then
always
it
got that
never
really
is.
white bit.
Yeah,
like
and
in
it's
the
like
middle, it's quite big.
disappointing.
Yeah. Great. Well, I'm glad we've stuck at the strawberries.
Yes, strawberries.
They've had it too good for too long. No wild animals.
I mean, that's getting close, I feel.
I
Like
mean-
if we keep going certain directions,
I mean, I've been to the New Forest where you guys used to live in England.
still plenty of...
There are...
They're actually not wild, they're semi-feral.
Yeah, but so are you.
Unrelated, but true.
No mosquitoes or flies.
Well, that's not going to happen. I think a lot of people would benefit from there not being any mosquitoes, because obviously, like, diseases get passed often by mosquitoes.
Yeah.
That would be a thing that I think a lot of scientists would be like, yes, please.
I have a massive fear of spiders.
Yeah.
And people always say, well, if you didn't have spiders, you'd have more flies. And I'm like, I can put up with, like, you know, batting away a fly a little bit more often if it meant that all spiders just went to the depths of hell where they belong.
See, I don't know, because it's not so much the swatting of the flies, it's when, like, a fly, like, goes for your ear or your nose.
Have
Or,
you ever
like,
swallowed a fly?
probably.
I knew an old lady who swallowed a fly.
Oh, gosh.
Perhaps you'll die.
Really?
Well done, thank you.
Oh, boy.
This was my personal favourite incorrect prediction, that the letters C, Q, and X would be expunged from the alphabet.
Gone.
Gone.
Don't need C.
No, don't need C, Q, or X. Gone.
Q or X is probably reasonable. C. That's
Yeah.
like a...
But
What
C-
did you think would be the replacement?
Well,
K,
he-
K is
K,
going to rise
yeah.
up.
He figured
Out of
that
its-
a lot of words would, like, the spellings would change and they would be more phonetic.
I would be interested to know, in his list of predictions, how many were accurate as opposed to how many of his predictions were inaccurate. Because right now, we could sit here and we could each list 100 things that we think could happen in the future.
Yeah.
And some of them...
Inevitably, we're going to hit on one or two.
Yeah,
Exactly right.
exactly. And then at the same time, I bet more than 90% of them will not come true.
Correct.
Especially if we say things ridiculous like, I think kernels of corn are going to be the size of houses.
The website I saw these on, there was 33 of them listed. And, like, the ones I've just read out there were the ones that were specifically, these came true, and these were just ridiculous, not coming true.
Right.
There were a lot there that I hadn't read out that were
Middle ground.
middle ground, that were like, well, yeah, that probably is true if you maybe twist it to mean this.
Yeah.
Or this didn't come true, but it's close.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I believe there are about 33 that I've seen, at least that I've read. And yeah, I'd say the ones that I've read out are the ones that were specifically, these came true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what's something you would predict is going to happen 100 years from now?
I predict that we will have had some evidence of interstellar life.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think that's very reasonable.
Yep.
Very reasonable. I think that travel will become faster. I think in many senses, so like international travel and also like local travel, I think it's going to become more grouped. So I think public transport is going to become more prevalent, and I think it's going to be quicker to get to places.
Is it going to be quicker for you to get to your point?
No.
You're going to go the long road for that one?
I think radishes are going to be the size of basketballs. So we'll
great.
see in 100 years. We can come back to this episode. We'll time capsule it and
Well-
come back and see whose predictions came true.
On that, I thought we could make a prediction for 12 months.
Oh, that's fun.
That's like well
we
into
can
the
come
next
back in
decade.
12 months. That's it. That's well.
That's easy.
We'll come back in 12 months and we'll.
I'm sticking with the radishes.
Make a prediction. It could be the world. It could be in your own life.
Maybe holograms are more accessible. Like hologram imaging is more accessible to people in their lives.
Yep. If it's you, is it a hologram?
A hologram.
Ba-bum.
If it's me at Christmas, it's a jolly hologram.
Oh, goodness.
Sean?
I am going to predict, I heard recently that I think it's the Gold Coast or somewhere in Queensland has put their pitch in for the next Olympics. I'm going to predict that they will not win the bid for the Olympics.
Interesting. Mine related more to us.
Oh,
Ooh,
okay.
okay.
I have a prediction. This podcast is going to be a lot more successful than it is now.
Oh, fingers crossed.
I like Jarrod's one the best.
I don't know. I feel pretty confident about Radishes.
Well, I can tell you something that has been pretty successful over not just 1 year, but a number of years, and has this year, 2019, unless you're listening to it in 2020, then it's last year, been honoured for that success over the past 50 years, actually. And that is Sesame Street.
I love Sesame Street.
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's a surprise.
I know.
Well, this year, Sesame Street was recently honoured at the Kennedy Center Honours for their contribution to television and to childhood education and all the wonderful things that Sesame Street does. And it's the first time a television show has been honoured by the Kennedy Center, which honours various different forms of the arts over the years. So other people that have been honoured in previous years have included Mel Brooks,
Lin-Manuel.
and the team behind Hamilton. Yeah,
I
so
believe this year you had Sally Field. I think you also had... Did Tom Hanks get one this year?
Tom Hanks was there. He was definitely there.
I feel like I saw him in those rainbow suspendery things that they have to wear.
The big medal-y thing that they get, yeah. I don't know if Tom Hanks got one this year, but I do know he was there. And I know that because apparently in one of the cutaway scenes of the night of the ceremony, Big Bird came up to him and said that he had stolen, Tom Hanks had stolen his seat.
He did, yes. He also sat on his lap.
What an honour. I love Tom Hanks. I'm going to throw that out there. Love Tom Hanks. Love Big Bird. That'd be... I wish I was like
Tom
sitting
Hanks, we love you.
there. Love you, Tom Hanks. What a combination of people. Tom Hanks and Big Bird.
Tom Hanks and Big Bird. I mean, that is my dream.
Yeah,
That's
that's
my
like...
dream dinner guest.
Yeah, I was going to say, when people say, like, who would be your dinner guests, they'd be pretty high up there, having those two come in. Mm-hmm. It was obviously a big deal as well, because around the same time, I believe Carol Spinney, who was playing...
It was the same day, yes.
The same day. Played Big Bird, and Oscar the Grouch passed away. So what a day to honour Sesame Street in that sense as well.
Mm-hmm.
On like a global scale as well. That's
Yes.
just like a lovely...
In such a big year too. Obviously it's the 50-year anniversary and
right.
all those kind of things. So I think it's a really lovely thing that happened that they got honoured like that.
We will... we're actually going to talk a little bit more about the Muppets a little later.
Ooh.
Yes, if you listen to this podcast, you probably noticed more than once my enjoyment of Muppets has come up. We'll talk about that more a little bit later. But yeah, I think it was fantastic that they got honoured, because I mean, really, it's 50 years. It's probably 50 years of really some of the most successful television that's ever been on ever.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing concept that before they did it had never been done before.
Yeah.
Merging that world of preschool education with entertaining television.
Yeah.
And what's wonderful about it is, and I think of this as from the perspective of Holly and I as children's theatre makers, is that we make things that need to be enjoyed by everyone that comes to the show. Like, yes, we make theatre for children, but children don't come to the theatre by themselves, they bring adults with them. So
Right.
we have to make stuff that's entertaining for adults. And I think one of the inspirations behind the work we do is definitely the work Sesame Street does, with their parodies and their content that is always... You can watch it as an adult
Right.
and find a lot of enjoyment and humour and joy in it as well. You don't have to be 5 to enjoy Sesame Street.
Right. But also, like, people, I think, are quick to undersell Sesame as adults. Mm-hmm. Which I understand, because, for a lot of people, they stop paying attention to it. But, you think about, there are people now who were 5 when Sesame Street started and were in the prime age, who are now grandparents watching it with their grandchildren. Mm. And so it's easy to forget that, hundreds of millions, if not now, have to be like close to billions of people have been affected by this television show.
Yeah,
which I don't think you could say of any other TV show.
Do you want to know my favourite bit?
What?
And this is a huge impact on my life from Sesame Street. Mm-hmm. So when I was a kid, there was an episode of Sesame Street, and it was kids showing Elmo how they ate their pizza. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it was like, "Hey Elmo, this is how I eat my pizza." And for easily 5 years after that, that's how me and my siblings would eat our pizza, and we'd take it in turns and we'd take a bite each. It was a good time.
Great.
Yeah.
My biggest Sesame Street memory doesn't actually come from watching an episode so much as completely scaring my mother.
Yes.
Back on our first trip to New York, we very luckily got to go to Sesame Street through some contacts we had, which was very exciting. Again, it was back in the time when mobile phones weren't what they are today. It wasn't so easy to just message someone overseas. So we were sparingly sending messages to my mum telling her about what was going on because it was quite expensive. Well, as we were on our way to the studios where they filmed Sesame Street, we were on the subway and I messaged my mum saying, oh my gosh, got on the subway, got off at a station, not really sure where we are, and just ended it with that. Mum got that message at about 2:00 in the morning, woke up, freaked out, and then was relieved when 5 minutes later I said, oh, don't worry, can see Sesame Street.
Wonderful.
You're a nightmare.
You're a nightmare.
It was funny though.
Yeah, look, I've had many favourite Sesame moments, many of which, have nothing to do with the show.
Yeah.
My favourite with the show, though, there's a song called I Don't Want to Live on the Moon, which I think is the best Sesame Street's ever been.
Beautiful song.
Beautiful song, done by Jim Henson. There's a lovely moment where at the end of the song he goes, I'll be coming home soon. And then he goes, and I don't want to live on the moon, right? And they obviously didn't edit this bit out, but you hear Jim Henson, almost lick his lips and, get ready, just wet his lips before he sings the next bit. And I don't know why, but the day I noticed that, I was like, that's such a human moment.
Yeah.
In such a, yes, it's puppets and felt, but that's such a human little moment of, oh, okay. It's like when you hear someone in a song, take a breath before they do it.
Yeah.
It's it's just, I don't know. But, Ernie wasn't licking his lips. He hasn't got lips.
Or tongues.
Oh, well, yes, he had a tongue.
Yeah, but not like an articulate.
Well, not with that attitude. Anyway, but like I said, we'll talk a little more about that a little later on.
While we're speaking of kind of well-loved television shows, I've got a story today about Bob Ross.
I love Bob Ross.
Yeah, I love Bob Ross too. He's a good egg.
There's someone, I don't know if he has been honoured by the Kennedy Centre.
He's not.
No?
No, I've
because
just
that does
just
feel
Googled
like
it. He's not, but he should.
Can you be posthumously honoured?
I don't know.
not sure.
He should be.
Yeah.
We'll ask.
Think of all the happy little trees out there.
Well, if they haven't done it, then that's a happy little accident.
If you want to see some happy little trees, now is your time, because for the first time, 20 years after his death, he's having his own solo art show.
What? Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cool, isn't it?
That's
so
awesome.
nice. So he's done, I think it was something like over 1,000 paintings he did during filming his show. He actually did 3 of each painting. So he did one before as reference, the one that you saw him paint during the show, and then I think maybe one after that they did the close-up shots. They were like, this is the painting.
Yeah.
And they're all still owned by the Bob Ross company.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was pretty sure I'd seen something recently where a lot of people were searching for them, and they were wondering why they weren't in people's private collections or whatever.
Yeah. So you can't buy a Bob Ross painting. But now, for the first time, you can see just his paintings in an art show. So it is in a small art gallery called the Franklin Parks Art Center in Virginia. Tickets to see the show are free.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah, so it said in the article that I was reading that it was small and it was free and accessible, which is exactly what Bob would have wanted. Which I think is really lovely.
I reckon that exhibition is going to be packed.
Yeah. So,
I realised that at the time it was obviously a great television show, but I think the popularity of it has boomed because of the internet and YouTube and
the wholesomeness of it as well.
Culture.
People love the wholesomeness of it.
Yeah. It's very warming to watch, isn't it?
Yes.
So although the tickets are free, they are almost sold out.
Of course. Yeah.
Have you ever done a Bob Ross painting?
No.
I tried once.
Yeah.
And about 20 minutes in, I was like, done. Yeah. I was like, this guy is a bazillion times better than I'm ever going to be. I just couldn't do it.
Can we do one?
Should we do one?
Can we do one and
can do one.
put the results up on our Instagram?
We'll do one at some point.
We put all our show notes and our visual imagery that relates to each episode on our Instagram, so check it out on Instagram if you want to see a bit more behind the scenes.
Yeah, maybe we'll post that smile that we did at the beginning of the episode as well.
Didn't take a photo of the smile. We're going to have to redo the smile.
Okay, we'll recreate the
I
smile.
don't want to recreate the smile. That's going to be a fake smile.
Oh, well. We'll pop it on Instagram anyway.
But one of my favourite things that Bob Ross does is when he dries his brush after everything.
Yeah.
He did that. Like, oh, you got to beat the dickens out of it. And I remember doing that when I was following. I did it so hard I broke the brush. I was like, oh, I beat the dickens out of it a little too much, Bob Ross. Sorry about that, buddy.
I find it amazing how we watched one and it was like not like a sunrise but like a moonrise or something over some mountains, and when it started had no idea what he was painting. I was like, oh, what's that going to be? Oh, what's that going to be? Oh, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, it's a moonrise and there's mountains and there's trees and all sorts.
Incredible. It's when he does the snow.
Yeah.
That's the
One of my
best.
favourite Bob Ross stories is that he got a letter from someone saying that I love your show and I've always wanted to paint but I can't because I'm colourblind.
Right.
And so he did a whole episode black and white.
Oh.
And went just to show that anyone can paint. So he only used black and white paints.
What an absolute hero.
I thought, what a champ.
This I think it's great this is all coming out in this episode with Bob Ross's show and with Sesame Street and those kind of things. I think back to it, there's a Mr. Rogers
movie coming
bit. There is a Mr. Rogers with Tom Hanks.
Oh my gosh, it's all come together.
But there's this clip
I
from
predict
Mr. Rogers.
Tom Hanks will get an Oscar.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I would say so.
There we go.
And I never really watched Mr. Rogers.
No, me either.
I don't think it was really a big thing in Australia. I don't know about in the UK. But the Mr. Rogers show, he was always trying to be very respectful of your neighbour and all those kind of things. And he had one episode where he had the lady who played the Wicked Witch of the West come in from Wizard of Oz, come into the show. Because a lot of people would like stop her on the street and be like, it's the Wicked Witch of the West, and like, and sort of be mean to her, I think is ultimately what was happening.
Yeah.
So he had her come in and she brought in the costume and he basically, in the very gentle way that he explained sort of everything, was like, now I'm wearing a costume, now I'm a character, but in real life, not that person kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so nice because you hear lots of stories about people that play like villains and things in films and people get the wrong idea about them as a person.
Well, it's funny you mention that. To go back to Sesame Street,
unlike you,
Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch, reprised her role as the Wicked Witch for an episode of Sesame Street.
Really?
And it is known now as the lost episode because they aired it once. And so many people were terrified of it that they've never played it again.
Wow.
And there's a whole faction of fans that are trying to find it. I know a couple of people who obviously work for Sesame Street and they have tried to release it. And Sesame are really worried about releasing it because people were terrified.
Do you know the content of the video? Do you know what happened in it?
Let me quickly pull this up. The stated curriculum goals of the episode were to demonstrate fear and the value of planning by creating and implementing methods of retrieving the broom. Apparently she lost her broom. I don't know.
Right.
The episode prompted an unusually large amount of male responses from parents, mostly entirely negative within a short time frame.
Wow.
Typical responses included parents' concerns that the children were afraid and now refused to watch the show, using such phrases as screams and tears, and the threat of the witch's power remains in the children's eyes.
I wonder if the Mr. Rogers episode happened post that.
Yeah.
Quite potentially. This was in 1976. So it's possible, that was afterwards.
As a sort of like, oh goodness, we need to sort of respond to this somehow.
Yep.
Yeah, goodness.
There you go.
Crazy.
If anyone's got it, if you could send it to us, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, Jarrod would definitely be appreciative of that.
Okay, so just quickly, she's lost her broom.
Yep.
She goes to Sesame Street, and because they're all scared of her, because they remember what she did to Dorothy, they refuse to give her broom back, and that just makes her angry.
Oh.
So there you go. So that's why it was such a terrifying thing. Although at one point, Maria and some kids enter Hooper's school and ask David for a glass of water. The witch, hearing that, makes it rain inside Hooper's. Oh, she's not inside Hooper's. I thought, well, she doesn't like water, so why is she making it rain?
What a mistake at a maker.
So there you go.
Unhappy little rain.
Unhappy little rain.
I mean, this has been a very Sesame-heavy episode.
It has been.
And while we talk about that, I'm going to talk about what's good in my life.
Oh, you should.
Okay, well, we talked about Sesame and we talked about the Muppets. I have a website.
Yep.
I'm going to do I'm going to do a little bit of self-promotion here. It's called the Muppet Mindset.
I've never heard of it before.
You've never heard of it?
No.
You mean you've never heard of it, even when you've written for it?
Oh, no, you're right. I have. Yeah, I remember now.
Look, it's a Muppet fan site. It does very well for itself. It's articles, it's opinion pieces, it's news, it's interviews. And I love every second of it. I've got to interview Cookie Monster twice, Elmo, Abby Cadabby. I've got to interview Frank Oz. I've got to do a whole lot of stuff. My favourite moment, we're talking about Sesame moment, off screen, is my interview with Cookie and Abby from 2018. It is, not to get morbid, but, if and when I leave this planet, just play that at my funeral, because I think that sums up just me and the silliness of it all.
Well, to make that news happier, another event that you could play one of your interviews at, Jarrod was the best man at our wedding, and he had interviewed Elmo earlier in the year.
Well earlier in the year, 8 months earlier. And
he managed to get Elmo to give us a shout out that we then played at the wedding, which was really special and completely unexpected and a massive surprise.
And that's two of my favourite moments, right, related to these interviews. That one was when Elmo said your names, and there's a great photo of me playing it and you, Holly, laughing, and you just have the most joy on your face. And I remember you saying, because you did your speak straight afterwards, and you said, this isn't going to be any good because we haven't got Elmo. And I was like, well, damn right. And my other one was when I did this interview with Cookie and Abby. I had planned a little bit of what was going to happen, but I said to David Rudman, who plays Cookie Monster, feel free to just derail this entire interview. And he just gave me a look that I'll never forget, and he just went, really? And I went, yeah. He goes, you asked for it. And if you watch that interview, Cookie Monster is just dialed up to 11. And there's more than once where I have to stop because I'm laughing so hard. So yes, that's what's good in my life. MuppetMindset.com.
How long have you been running that now?
So I started writing for it when it first began, which was in 2009.
Yeah.
I think within the first couple of months. And then I took over full-time from a guy named Ryan Dozier, who now works for the Muppets.
He's a good egg also.
He's a good egg.
Hi Ryan, if you're listening.
I completely forgot that you two have been in the car with him. And to Disneyland with him. I took over, though, full-time early April 2015. And I've been doing it since then.
Oh my gosh, it's nearly 2020. That's nearly 5 years, Jarrod.
It is nearly 5 years.
Ooh. Well done, you.
And I must say, I do read the website, despite what I said before. And I think it is a testament to you and the work you've done that 5 years on from starting, it's still going as strong, if not stronger, even though quite often Muppet news can be few and far between.
Few and far between. They don't do a whole lot. This year has been completely taken up with Sesame Street. Like, the Muppets have done very little. Yeah. I started writing the year in review yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's all just Sesame Street stuff. And I am, I have a couple of little people who will occasionally chime in and, do things. But I'm essentially doing this side on my own. And it's not easy, but, it does well. And I am friends with a lot of these people now, and I've done a little bit of work for Sesame Street now, and so...
Brings you joy.
It brings me joy, and I enjoy joy, and I enjoy other people's joy. So, Sean, what's good in your life?
The other day at work, I met the happiest person.
Great.
And I say this because it really struck me. For work for the past couple months, I've been at a really, really, really busy shopping centre.
Mm-hmm. Chabston,
Sharon.
Not to name drop them. And it's been hectic, obviously, as the Christmas season ramped up and the sales season started and all that, and it's been absolutely crazy at this shopping centre. Lots and lots of people, and although I never really had anyone grumpy come into work or anything like that, definitely when it hit the 7 days till go to Christmas kind of time frame, the mindset of people changed, and it was no longer a joyous and happy time. It was definitely I haven't got all the things I need. So finding people that were happy and bubbly and optimistic and those kind of things around that time did get more difficult. So it really surprised me when, I think it was Boxing Day, I went out to put some cardboard in the compactor that they have out the back. Anyone that hasn't worked in a shopping centre environment before, there's giant compactors where you put the rubbish. Very thrilling. not.
They gave us new cards. It's very exciting.
Yes, and the thing is, they've got these 2 new bins, and they're now card accessed. And because they're card accessed, and no one apparently knows how to use a card, they've had to employ people to stand at the bins and teach people how to use the bins. Yes.
There's some garbage jobs out there, aren't there?
Literally. Now, this gentleman was working this shift on like bin teaching duty, and also like general cleaning around the bin area, because it does get really nasty. And if people don't have their key card, they've just been leaving their rubbish like on the side, so he's had to sort of clean up everyone's rubbish. And he tells me that he was meant to only be on for 4 hours that day, and it ended up picking up an emergency shift and was on for like an 8-hour shift instead. But he was the happiest person I have ever met. And now I work in a sweet shop when I'm not doing children's theatre stuff, and so a lot of my boxes that I was compacting were all chocolate related, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, you sell Reese's?" And I was like, "Yeah, we sell Reese's." And he was telling me about how much he loves like Reese's Buttercups, and he was telling me about his day, and he was just so happy. There was a huge smile on his face, and I thought, here is a person that has a literal rubbish job. And if I had that job, I'd probably be really grumpy and upset, and I don't think anyone would take the time to talk to me and be nice. And I just had this lovely conversation with him, and he was so genuinely nice and happy and those kind of things. And I thought, this is so lovely that someone doing this job is just like super happy. Yeah. And so I went back to work, and I grabbed a packet of Reese's peanut butter cups, and I ran like straight back out to him, and I was like, "Look, thanks for brightening my day and being super happy and positive, you know, even considering it's like the craziest day at the shopping centre ever. Have some of these on me." And he was like, "Whoa, thanks, that's so nice of you." He's like, "I just feel like, you know, there's so much bad stuff in the world. You just got to be happy sometimes."
Then Sean gave him a business card for this podcast.
Great.
And he'll be guest starring next week. No, but I just thought it was so nice, because he didn't have to be nice. He didn't have to be happy.
Exactly
and
right.
he just was, and it made my day.
Yep.
Oh,
Great.
That's really nice.
Well, I like that what's good in his life is Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Holly,
Is it ever?
what's good in your life?
What is good in my life is we, as previously discussed, make children's theatre. We've got a big year of children's theatre coming up. And yesterday we had a look on one of our Fringe Festival websites, and we had sold 19 tickets.
Nice.
It's a short run, so that's okay. It's not like a 4-month run and we've only sold 19 tickets. That would be nerve-wracking. But we don't often sell tickets for money. We often get bought in by venues, and then the shows are free and it's accessible theatre, which we enjoy doing. But for this season in particular, they are paid for tickets. And it was just a nice feeling to know that people were interested and that people wanted to come and see what we do.
Well, it's nice as well to know that you're going to be doing these shows, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
I know more than once, when you guys were in England, you went to do a show and
No one shows up.
no one shows up. And
Yeah.
like, that's a really upsetting
Yeah.
sort of situation where it's like,
Definitely
all right, well,
demoralising.
yeah. So it's nice to know that, you know, you actually will be doing these shows, so there's
Yeah.
going to be some sort of audience there.
Yeah.
And it's only going to pick up from here. So
Exactly
19
right.
at this point, honestly, is
It's
a
huge.
surprisingly high number.
Yeah.
We often find, especially when it comes to fringe festivals, people don't buy tickets until
The day of.
Yeah.
An hour
it's-
before.
So like this is more than a month before kind of thing, and people have got tickets already, and that's fantastic. And we haven't done any marketing yet, so it's really just been on the back of sort of the brochure being released that says that we're there, that people have booked tickets. So that's fantastic. We're looking forward to it now.
Cool.
It's nice. I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
What should people do if there's something good in their life that they want to tell us about?
Oh, if there's something good in your life, you are more than welcome to send us an email at goodforachangepodcast@gmail.com. It's what we like to call tree mail.
Ah, tree mail. That still hasn't caught on. Oh, but we did receive some tree mail from a listener.
Yeah.
One of our listeners, Alice, emailed in to further some information about our Trevor the Mallard story.
Yeah.
Trevor the Mallard was named after a New Zealand politician.
Okay.
Fun fact. There we go.
That's because they thought he'd flown there from New Zealand.
There we go. So now we know a little bit more about Trevor the Mallard.
Trevor the Mallard.
So if you've listened to our stories and there's anything, you've got additional information about the stories, please email it in so we can update the stories as well.
Well, usually this is the point where I say, well, isn't that lovely? And we, go into the finale. I want to do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
I want to do a little bit of a state of the podcast, if you will. Now, you two don't know what I'm about to say. But, state of the podcast, let's maybe talk a little bit about it. Maybe air any grievances we might have. Holly, do you have any grievances? No, I don't. Great. Sean, do you have any grievances? No, I don't. Great, because I do. A couple of weeks ago, we discussed Die Hard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And whether it's a Christmas movie or not. Mm-hmm. And then which one of you two it was, who runs the social media, did a little bit of a poll on Instagram.
Yeah.
Who wants to cop to making that?
I probably made it.
It was
Okay,
Sean.
great. Okay. Now, granted, I will say beforehand, I kind of cheated a little bit.
You 100% cheated, and I've got screenshots.
You've got screenshots. Great.
We keep receipts.
Good, because this relates to one of the screenshots. So I voted yes.
Three times
on my own, on another account I have, and on my Muppet Mindset account.
And at the end result was, how many votes for yes were there?
3.
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, here's where we go to the no. You two separately said no. I think even maybe your theatre company one said no. That's fine. I had cheated once. That's not a problem. Here's where my problem lies. I created the idea of a podcast that we could all do together. Remember that? Remember when I said, well, this is a podcast I think we could do? And you guys went, that sounds great. I donated my microphone for the first few things before you guys had your own. I edit the podcast.
That's true.
And so you can imagine my horror and disgust when I realised that the podcast account had voted against me.
Democracy rules, 2 against 1.
No.
Well,
I was severely unimpressed.
Now, while
that the podcast had voted in its own poll.
While that might be the case, we then did put the question up on the Australian Podcast Collaborators group or something on Facebook. It's a group of Australian podcasters. It's a very handy resource if you're a podcaster and from Australia. And we put the question out on there on I think it's hashtag like Fun Friday or something like that.
Yeah.
And it got some votes there as well. The answers that you could possibly have were, no, it's not a Christmas movie. Yes, it definitely is a Christmas movie. Or, I've never seen Die Hard. To which point, I think I did vote, I have never seen Die Hard on that one. And, well, your side of the table will be delighted to find out that overwhelmingly the Australian Podcasters Collaborative decided that
it is a
Christmas movie. So.
I know, because I specifically joined that page just to thank those people.
And vote 3 times.
No, I never voted. I didn't even vote on that one.
He used up all of his votes on the Instagram.
But there we go. I just wanted to bring that up. I just wanted to make my point that I was severely unimpressed that my own podcast voted against me, but that's fine. I just had to air the grievance. We will move on. We will leave that in 2019. We'll move forward to 2020 in a happier place.
In a happier place. Do you want me to sing ABBA now?
No, I want
Would
you
that
to
help?
No, I do want you to go into the your spiel about reviews though.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you think Die Hard is either a Christmas film or not a Christmas film, you should vote by giving this podcast 5 stars on the iTunes store.
That's a nice idea. Because if you've got opinions on that, maybe you've got opinions on us, and I hope they're good.
Well, if they're not good, then we're not interested. Because how many stars are we accepting, Holly?
Oh, it's a 5-star only policy, yes.
Okay, great. Okay.
And thank you to those that have posted reviews. We've had some really, really lovely reviews so far, and we love reading them. So give us 5 stars, drop us little words down below, even mention whether you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not.
But only if you think yes, because otherwise I will come for you.
Well, there's too many policies now. I don't know if we can have all these policies.
Well, you know
one
what?
policy. And it's 5.
It's 5. We have 5-star policy, and that Die Hard is Christmas film. I'm putting that out there. But no, I'm not going to bring it up again. We're going to leave it in 2019. That's us heading into 2020.
Because this is the last episode of 2019.
Last episode of the decade.
Oh my
gosh.
goodness.
Oh my god, I mean, that would be so much more significant if this wasn't like episode 8. But that's okay.
Wow, I can't believe that we've done this whole podcast in in a decade, and now we're
know.
going to have a whole new decade's worth of podcasting.
So much more good news out there.
So much more good news, and I look forward to joining you to listen to good news.
And share good news.
That was awkwardly written, but I'm not going to redo it because, you know what? Authenticity is the key of life.
New year, new me.
New year,
Not
new me.
really.
So 2019.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hashtag so 2019. Is that a thing?
I don't
Dunno.
know.
Okay,
No.
we're not going to get it trending. But thank you very much, Holly.
Thank you, Jarrod.
Thank you very much, Sean.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Jarrod. You're welcome.
Happy New Year. Happy
I don't think
New
I've got the rights to
Year.
that.
Don't. No.
It's okay. I don't think it was good enough that they would come for me.